Hey fellow Vault Dwellers, it's Angry Turtle, and today we are covering very important topic: power armor and fusion core drain, especially when you are using VATS. And that's because with the December patch, heavy gunner VATS users will be very common, as heavy guns are receiving AP cost reduction, so way more friendly for VATS, and they do benefit from using power armor. So how can you do both? As well, yes, there is a new power armor that is coming with fusion core drain reduction. At this moment I cannot showcase it yet, as it doesn't work as intended. It's increasing fusion core drain reduction. That's why I'm not showcasing the new power armor and how it works yet. The bugs need to be fixed first. So fusion cores, as you know, they have charge, and you use it wherever you are in power armor for running, sprinting, jetpacking, and using VATS. But not everything that uses action points uses fusion core. There are exceptions. There are exceptions that do not use fusion core. Let's start first from how to get quickly some fusion cores if you run low. I have guides how to recharge them, how to manage them, how to farm them, but what to do if you need it real quick, like now, and you are starting, let's say, event, you only have access to workbench, you can do it. If you go under heavy guns, then Gatling laser, the Science Master rank 1 is unfortunately required. You can craft the level 25 relatively, I would say, cheaply. Even a little bit cheaper than that with Science Expert. So Science Expert for the material cost, Science Master to be able to craft it. And one more thing to get a little bit extra, the Super Duper, and now we craft heavy guns, Gatling laser, and we don't want to use it, so we are crafting the lowest possible level. As you can see, the price went down a little bit thanks to the Science Expert, so you equip that. I will craft just 5 crafted super duper triggered. I can hear that. Now I check my ammo category fusion cores. I have 6 fresh fusion cores crafted now. There is no faster way to get fusion cores cheap. And what to do with Gatling laser? Just grab them after. Now I'm entering power armor, and let's start from a basic math for fusion core drain when using VATS. So whatever weapon you are using, how it will be calculated. First, it used to charge you wherever you press the VATS button, but that was changed. So I'm spamming the VATS button now. You can see my action points are going down because I'm spamming VATS button and there is no targets. But my fusion core is unaffected. So that is a good news. The fusion core is unaffected by that. Now, how do you know how much your weapon will drain your fusion core? If you inspect it and you check the AP cost, so that's the AP cost. It's direct correlation with fusion core drain. One full fusion core, by default, has capacity equivalent of 2000 action points. So in case of this weapon, I will be able to fire less than 100 shots, and fusion core will be empty. So this is quite expensive, as you can guess. Let me demonstrate on some enemies. Here we have some enemies. So let's fire. Look at my fusion core. So you can notice it's draining whenever I start firing. Look at that. It's draining real bad. This weapon is firing very fast. So my fusion core is literally melting. Now the best thing you can do to change that, there is one perk called Power User, and yes, it affects the VATS drain, it affects all type of fusion core drain. Jetpacking fusion core drain, the VATS fusion core drain, all of it is affected. So now I'm draining half what was before. If I want to use more VATS with this setup, I can always go for whatever VATS regeneration item I have available, like slice of the birthday cake, for example. So if I eat those, I will be regenerating my VATS real fast, and in the same time you can see what's happening with my fusion core. Regenerating VATS real fast, my fusion core is draining, And yes, I choose the weapon modded to do relatively low damage, and I'm not using criticals as I want to showcase this fusion core drain. So that's with a perk. It's still very fast drain, but you can reduce that. Like, it can get lower. Hopefully in the future with new power armor, which would be the best case scenario. At this moment, to get it lower, you need to use bubble heads and or magazines. You can use both. So there is a bubble head repair that directly reduces the fusion core drain by 30%. And there is another magazine that's Tesla Science number 4. 15% fusion core drain. It doesn't sound like a lot. I know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but how this math works is very interesting, as this one is basically 50%. It says doubled, but it's actually giving you 50% reduction to fusion core drain, and I have Curator to have those benefits lasting for longer. How do they work? Now, where are those? I took them. I should have this bubblehead. I have too much stuff. Yeah, bubblehead repair, that's 30%. And then Tesla Science, there it is, free. Now under effects tab, I should be able to see that. So that's Tesla Science, that's bubblehead repair. How do you calculate it? Luckily, it is additive. So 30%. Plus 15%, that's 45%, plus my power user 50%, total of 95%. You can probably already guess, it's a really good total. So now, do I still have Scourgebeast? Yes. So I hopefully still have some coffee so I can run it. So I spam coffee, and now I will be using it again in VATS. Oh no, no way you are flying away after I took the coffee. There is still something. Okay, we loaded another core, and I don't know if there are any targets left. That stupid Scourgebeast fly away. Oh, there are targets, okay. Look at my fusion core. It's barely draining. I'm using a VATS expensive weapon, firing with insane speed, and my fusion core is barely draining. The same rule applies to jetpacking. So now I can pop another coffee, and look, I will hold the jetpack. Look at my fusion core. It is barely draining, so there are ways you can deal with fusion core drain in power armor. With the new power armor supposed 25% reduction to fusion core drain, assuming it will be the same and it will be additive, you'll be able to get 75% with just a perk without any consumables. And is it possible to exceed 100%? Probably not. In theory it would be, with the changes. But we'll see. So that's how it works. Now about the power armor, there is only one VATS related mod really for your helmet. So you can have 10% VATS accuracy if you equip on your helmet VAT matrix overlay. So this is the one that can improve your VATS accuracy. I have it equipped if you want to be a heavy gunner VATS user. At this moment, as I said, the AP cost on the weapon matters. So you pay per shot 2000 capacity on regular fusion core. With a perk, 4000 action points capacity. And if you start adding consumables, it is going up over 20,000 action points capacity if you add some consumables. So that's how it works. Your fusion core is 2000 by default. You can increase it easily to 4000 with a perk. Hopefully to 8000 with a power armor with next update. And then power armor heavy gunner will be a valid case scenario. About the jetpacking, if you wonder how it's consuming your action points, in case of jetpack, it's unrelated to actual amount of action points you have and you are draining. It's time-based. So it's a percentage of fusion core being drained with each second that you are holding a jetpack button and jetpack is going on. That's how this works. You barely can see it now as I use the consumables and the perk and everything else, normally it is draining quite fast when you are jetpacking around. About recharging your fusion cores, farming your fusion cores, check out my other guides if you still need that. Here's about drainage of fusion core and VATS using in power armor. I hope this video is helpful for you, and that being said, thank you all for watching, and see you all in the next one.